In the icy, wind-swept wilderness of northern Canada, where winter nights stretch endlessly and silence dominates the frozen landscape, lies one of the most disturbing and mysterious cases ever recorded: the disappearance of the entire Inuit village of Lake Anjikuni. For decades, this story has lingered like a ghost over the barren tundra, an unsettling tale whispered by trappers, passed between RCMP officers, and debated by researchers who still cannot agree on what truly happened. There are mysteries involving individuals and mysteries involving groups, but the vanishing of an entire community, homes, animals, people, and all signs of life is something that defies ordinary explanation. It is the kind of mystery that leaves a mark on the land itself. The case began in November of 1930, when a weary fur trapper named Joe LaBelle made his way toward the remote settlement. Lake Anjikuni was a place he had visited before, a small but active Inuit community known for its hospitality and the warmth of its fires during the long Arctic nights. As LaBelle approached the village, he expected to see smoke rising from chimneys or to hear the distant barking of sled dogs. Instead, he was greeted by silence, an unnatural, suffocating quiet that chilled him more than the cold air around him. The wind blew freely through the narrow pathways between snow-covered tents and simple huts, yet no human presence stirred. Something was wrong. LaBelle stepped into the first dwelling he found, calling out as he pushed open the flap. No one answered. Inside, he saw something even more unsettling: a pot of stew still warm, sitting above the fire, as if the cook had stepped out only moments before. Clothes were neatly hung, tools rested where they had been left, and personal belongings were arranged tidily, all waiting for their owners to return. It was clear that whoever lived there had not planned to leave. LaBelle moved from home to home, calling out, checking for signs of life. He found none. Instead, each dwelling presented the same eerie picture: meals half prepared, lamps still burning, possessions untouched. The village seemed frozen in time, abandoned in an instant. But the scene grew darker still. As LaBelle explored the outskirts of the village, he came upon something that disturbed him deeply. The community's sled dogs were dead, still tied to their posts. These were not just animals. They were vital survival companions in the Arctic, never left unattended or unfed. The dogs appeared to have starved, suggesting they had been left behind for days, maybe longer. Their frozen bodies painted a grim picture. Whatever caused the villagers to disappear had done so suddenly and completely, leaving no time for preparation. This detail was one of the most unsettling elements of the entire case. Shaken by what he had seen, LaBelle made the dangerous journey to contact the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. When officers arrived, they confirmed the trapper's story. The village was empty, eerily preserved, and abandoned without explanation. The RCMP investigation raised more questions than answers. Officers noted that food stores were full, weapons remained in place, and the village showed no signs of struggle or conflict. If the villagers had fled, why had they left behind everything essential for survival? Why had they not taken food, clothing, dogs, or tools? No footprints were found in the surrounding snow, only the traces of wind. It was as if the entire community had stepped out of existence. Adding to the mystery, the RCMP reported an unusual discovery near the village cemetery. A grave had been disturbed, the earth and snow displaced, and the body within was reportedly missing. Some accounts describe the grave as being emptied, though later researchers have questioned this part of the story. Still, at the time, the alleged removal of a body added a macabre dimension to the investigation. If true, it suggested that the disappearance was not simply an evacuation, but something far more sinister. As news of the vanishing spread, speculation took hold. Some locals spoke of strange lights in the sky around the time the village was abandoned. These lights, described as blue, dancing, and unusually bright, became part of the legend. Some believed the lights were a bad omen, while others interpreted them as possible extraterrestrial activity, especially as UFO stories gained popularity in later decades. Still, these reports were never verified and may have been added to the story long after the fact. In the months that followed, the RCMP could not find any trace of the missing villagers. No bodies were recovered, no footprints or sled tracks were discovered, and no signs of migration to another settlement were ever identified. Inuit communities in the region did not report any sudden arrival of refugees or newcomers, and no group matching the size of the missing village was ever seen again. The people of Anjikuni had seemingly vanished into the cold, northern air. Over the decades, skeptics questioned the authenticity of the story. Some historians argued that the tale might have been exaggerated or even fabricated. They pointed out inconsistencies in early reports, conflicting dates, and the lack of preserved RCMP documentation. Others suggested more mundane explanations, such as the possibility that the villagers left due to famine, disease, or environmental pressure. But these explanations fail to account for the eerie clues left behind: the warm meals, the burning fires, the untouched possessions, and the tragic fate of the sled dogs. Some researchers have proposed that the entire event may have begun with a sudden environmental threat, such as a shifting ice sheet, a severe storm, or a sound-based phenomenon like an infrasound event. Infrasound, produced by natural forces like wind interacting with mountain ranges or atmospheric pressure fluctuations, can cause panic, nausea, and extreme anxiety in humans. Some speculate that an infrasound wave might have caused the villagers to flee suddenly, disoriented and terrified. However, this theory still does not explain why no tracks were found, or why the villagers would abandon all essential belongings. Another theory suggests a mass relocation, perhaps due to a warning received from neighboring Inuit groups. If the villagers believed an immediate threat, such as an attack from wildlife or another tribe, was imminent, they might have attempted to flee. But again, the lack of tracks or evidence of movement makes this difficult to support. Meanwhile, those who favor paranormal explanations point to the strange lights and the unexplained nature of the disappearance as evidence of supernatural or extraterrestrial involvement. Though this idea is far from proven, it remains one of the most enduring interpretations among mystery enthusiasts. The isolation of Lake Anjikuni, the oddity of the clues, and the chilling atmosphere of the Arctic environment all contribute to the feeling that something extraordinary took place. In 1930, northern Canada was one of the most remote regions on Earth, an untouched expanse of icy lakes, endless snowfields, and rugged forests stretching toward the horizon. The people who lived there were skilled, resourceful, and deeply connected to the land. For such a community to vanish without any trace challenges our understanding of survival, movement, and human behavior. It suggests an event powerful enough to override logic and preparation, leaving only a ghostly stillness behind. Today, Lake Anjikuni remains a place of silence. The village no longer stands, and no modern settlement has taken its place. The area remains as empty as it was the day LaBelle discovered the disappearance. For explorers and researchers who visit the region, the memory of the vanished community still lingers. The winds that sweep across the frozen lake seem to carry whispers of the past, hints of a mystery that remains unsolved nearly a century later. What happened to the villagers of Lake Anjikuni? Were they victims of an environmental disaster, a mass panic, or something beyond our understanding? The truth remains hidden beneath layers of snow, lost to time, and the vast, unforgiving wilderness of the Canadian North. Until evidence surfaces, if it ever does, the disappearance of the Lake Anjikuni village will remain one of the greatest, most chilling mysteries in North American history. A haunting reminder that some stories resist explanation, no matter how deeply we search.